Welcome to Coffee and Community, Cutaneous Lymphoma Conversations, brought to you by the Cutaneous Lymphoma Foundation. I'm today's host, Holly Preeb, and thrilled to have you with us. Today, we're honored to have Harjeet joining us. Harjeet was diagnosed with an ultra-rare form of cutaneous lymphoma, subcutaneous panniculus-like T-cell lymphoma. Because of her journey with these rare diseases, Harjeet spends much of her free time educating and raising awareness. So grab your favorite cup of coffee, settle in, and join me in welcoming Harjeet to the program. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Cutaneous Lymphoma team, to having me today.
Oh, we are honored to have you with us. So let's just start at the beginning. Can you start by helping us understand your journey with cutaneous lymphoma, how you were diagnosed, and really that impact in your life?
I'm actually from Canada. I'm based out of Calgary. I moved to Canada back in 2018 with my husband, having of dreams of settling down, having a family, having a career. In 2019, I started having symptoms, which were just normal symptoms like fever. I had ongoing fevers for months. We were advocating pre-diagnosis that can we get some tests done, scans done, etc. But then it took a lot of time to do that CT scan for me. Like it took them for almost a month to do a CT scan on me, and I was going through high fevers ranging from 39 to 42 degrees Celsius. And I was on Tylenol to cut those fevers. And when they did the CT scan, they had admitted me to the hospital saying that they want to do some additional test and scan. So I was in hospital from June 2019 until September 2019. And I had endless biopsies, surgeries, MRIs, CTs, blood work, you name it, I had it all. But there was no one to actually diagnose what was going on. My body started swelling up. I had ulcers in my stomach. I had fevers, which was never stopping. I used to get chills episode. So it was not easy for my husband and I to manage those things, especially being an immigrant in a country and navigating the healthcare challenges was something which we had no idea about, but we really advocated hard to get that diagnosis. And finally, in August 2019, just before 1 week of diagnosis, they did a skin punch biopsy which showed that I had stage 4 rare blood cancer, which is subcutaneous panniculitis T-cell lymphoma with HLH condition. So I was diagnosed on 27th of August 2019 around 3 o'clock. And honestly, when they told me, I was completely numb and shocked because I was just 32 and I just felt that my life flipped upside down. Coming to a new country and diagnosed with such a rare type of cancer, which is also a stage 4, where you always think of, you might not survive because it's stage 4. And coming from a South Asian background where we don't have much knowledge about cancer, that was also something which led up that, okay, I might die, I might not survive. And so they started the treatment the next day, and I still remember my oncologist telling me that, Harjeet, you have a very rare form of cancer, and we are trying our best to treat you. So you just have to be patient and trust us. And he explained me very nicely that what kind of cancer I had. And he also told me that, there are only 150 or 120 cases reported globally. So you're my first one, and we'll try our best to treat you. The most painful part was to tell my dad, who was in India. My mom did flew before my diagnosis because we were so overwhelmed with, everything like you're working, you're taking care of me. So my husband was really overwhelmed with everything. So we reached out to my mom and she was here before my diagnosis. But that challenge was to tell my dad and extended family. So my mom and my husband took that care, they told my extended family and I was completely shut. I didn't want to talk about it. I was in that zone where I just felt that I might not survive. But I never wanted to share this in front of my family because first of all, we never talked about what was going on. The support was there, they were there to take care of me, to give me food, to take my medications, like everything was there. But we never actually shared what we were experiencing. And I feel cancer doesn't affect you, it affects the whole family. So we never talked to each other, face to face. I used to cry when I was alone, never in front of anyone because I felt if I melt down in front of them, it might not be easy for them to take it. So I used to have my own, time where I used to be totally vulnerable that I don't know what will happen to my husband, what will happen to my parents if something goes wrong. So those were the moments. So that's how it started. Because it was complicated with HLH. So HLH is an autoimmune disease, so which affects your good cells. So as they were treating my cancer, HLH is which was making it more worse. So so they were trying to fix my cancer by giving me harsh and aggressive chemo, but HLH condition was eating those good cells. So my immune system was fighting against my own, body. So it was just making more worse. So they gave me three chemos, and after that they did a PET scan back in November 2019. And I still remember I went to see my oncologist, and he said, "Harjeet, what's your appetite?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What do you want to do?" And I still have that glimpse of that room, saying that I want to live. I'm just tired. I don't know what to do, but I'm just 32 and I feel like my life is just over. I want to live, I want to survive. And at that moment, he said, I give you two options. One is either we go on giving you chemo, but I don't know how much your body can take it and what will happen. Second is to try a stem cell transplant because your HLH condition is just making worse. Try a stem cell transplant and maybe this could give you a little life longer. And I don't know, one, two, three, we don't know, but we can try our best. So that was the conversation we had in November. It was not an easy at that moment, and we planned of doing a stem cell transplant. And my brother was here, and they did a couple of tests on him, and he turned out to be 100% match. So, which is also very rare because you don't see 100% match most of the time. So, he was my stem cell donor. But before that, I had to be on a partial remission. Chemo was so harsh that I started losing my hair. I was not myself. The physical change, the mental change, the social, the financial. I was not up to anything. And at that period of time, I did lost my fertility too, and no one actually talked about it. That hit me really hard because I was diagnosed after 3 months of having symptoms, and then I started chemo the next day, and I stopped having my period. So I just had that question with my doctors, and they said, Harjeet, you were so sick that we didn't had much of time to do something about it. And I had a little fight with my husband about that over that, why you didn't ask me about it. And things happened. They sent me to fertility specialist in December, and she said that I'm sorry, Harjeet, but you had a major symptoms. Your condition was so severe. Then you had the aggressive chemotherapy, and now you're going for a stem cell transplant. So there's no way we could have, preserved your eggs or do something about it. And at the age of 32, I was just thrown into perimenopause, which I had no idea until now what it looked like. But then after that, they just started the aggressive chemo so that they could take me to partial remission. I had CMV retinitis, which damaged the retina of my right eye. During that whole phase, I literally lost my right eye vision from a blurry vision to complete losing it. So those were the things I feel that I wish someone would have communicated me with, these information that okay, some of the drugs would cause this, and these are the side effects of the chemo drugs. But that communication never happened. So this happened in Feb. They started treating my right eye with giving me injections on my left eye so that they could make sure that the virus doesn't go to my left eye. 1 week was injections on my right eye. Next week was chemos. And so Jan and Feb was really difficult journey for me. I was just prepping up for stem cell and all these things coming up again and again was making me feel more weak and hopeless. And I was just losing hope every time. Like when I heard about that lymphoma has gone to my eye, I felt like I'm not prepared for this. I'm already prepping myself for stem cell and now on top of this. So I was just losing hope. I really felt that, I'm not gonna make it and we are just trying our best to treat me somehow, but it's just getting worse every day. So we had
Mhm.
to move from Edmonton to Calgary for my stem cell transplant. And the stem cell transplant was supposed to happen in March 2020, but it got delayed because of COVID. We got a call that there is COVID, there's a global pandemic, and we don't know how things would turn out. So they reached out to us. And before that, they did had a meeting with my whole family about stem cell process, how the process would be look like, because I had no idea what stem cell transplant was. And we had a meeting with the whole team, my dad, my mom, my husband, my brother, we all were sitting, and they said the stem cell transplant would be very difficult for her because we will be actually killing her immune system by giving her everyday chemo and radiation and then putting her brother's stem cell so that the body can accept those cells, and sometimes body can reject the new cells, so which can cause to GVHD, and which is also a life-threatening disease. So they explained us very well, and they also told us that there might be a chance of 30 to 40% of death, and we will let you know if something like that happens. So imagine that conversation happening with your parents, and you all are sitting in a room, and you're having that conversation, and it's if I could see in each and everyone's eyes that they were really scared. And because everybody was scared, so we could not express ourselves, and we never expressed the pain I was going through, the pain they were going through. So it was not an easy journey till then. And then we got a call that Harjeet needs to admit to the hospital on 6th of April 2020, but by herself. No one can see her. We will be admitting her for 30 to 40 days, depending on the treatment. No family member is allowed to visit her. You can do a video call or a voice call. And if something happens to her, we let you know. So, those were the conversations they said. And I remember 6th of April 2020, when I entered the hospital zone and they dropped me at the door, I literally felt, Holly, that this is the last time, maybe I'm not coming back from here. And I just felt that I don't know if I'll ever come out of this door. And I hugged them tightly, and I just felt that that's it. And I went in, and the plan was to have chemo for 7 days from 7th April. I still remember I put all the pictures and stuff in the room, and I just wanted to be surrounded by them. And because I knew it will not be an easy road for me right now. Before all this, they were there for me. They were going for chemo for with me. They were doing everything for me. I was taking medications, my food. Everybody was taking care of me, and now I have to do all of this by myself? Do I have that energy or strength, or am I strong enough to do it myself? So those were the things which were, haunting me a lot of times that I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to make it. So 7th of April, they started the treatment. In the initial days, it was everyday chemo. First day, second day, third day was okay. And then slowly I started getting those symptoms affected. Like I had mucositis in my mouth. I was in so much pain that they had to put me on painkiller pump, which was fentanyl, and then I was on oxygen tube, I was on feeding tube, and I really don't know how I made it for those 35 days. I was fighting for my life every single day so that I could get up and just see my family. I was not able to talk to them, but that FaceTime call was really important to me at that time. Every morning, doctors used to come and, check my vitals and do stuff. And they used to call my husband to tell them that, how I'm doing, how are the things. And I don't know how I still made it. Until now, I just get goosebumps when I talk about those 35 days because I really don't know. I feel like I was on dead end of that road where I just, prayed and hoped and just wanted to see the next day so that I could see my family. And I think that was the thing which helped me going, that I need to get out of here so that I could hug them, I could be there for them. So those 35 days were not easy for me, being isolated. And I just wrote a small note for my family saying that, what if I don't make it from here? And I just want to be grateful. And I'm blessed to have my parents, my husband, my brother to be so supportive. But one thing which was missing, a talk between us. We never talked about the pain we were all going through. So, I just wrote my heart out at that time. And when I went back home after 35 days, it was a blessing. 14th of April 2020, I got the stem cell of my brother. And I still remember nurses wished me happy rebirthday on 14th of April. I had no idea what that day looks like, and they just wished me, and I was like, oh, now that's nice. And I could see that how it was happening. They were giving me my brother's stem cell, and they wished me at the hospital because I was all alone, and that was the only support I had. I went home, I was completely bedridden, and I could not walk, I could not do anything do anything. Like I could not take shower, I could not go to the washroom, I could not change my clothes, everything my mom used to do. And at that moment I used to feel that I'm 33 and she's, 54, and it should be other way around, that I should have taken care of her at that age, and I've been young, I'm such a burden on my family. I used to have that thoughts of, that I'm a burden on my family and not see myself in the mirror because the physical appearance was so making me, sick every day seeing myself. I lost a lot of weight. So it was too much going on. I was so mentally isolated, I was stressed, and I had no idea whom to talk to because no one around me was talking about it. And I could see everyone's eyes that, they are still worried and they are happy, but they are still worried about me because it was COVID. We were informed that we are not allowed to have any kind of infection because that could kill her. So we made sure, like my family made sure that they had all the precautions during COVID. I didn't step out of the house like for months, and I could not walk. We rented a house in Calgary because I had to stay 100 days in hospital, near hospital because of stem cell. So I really don't know, but how I made it through, it's been 5 years. I just completed my 5 years of stem cell. I am 5 years old now. It has been a milestone journey. Yeah, 14th of April 2025. I had my, 5 years completed. I met my oncologist 2 weeks back, and he said, Harjeet, 5 years is a huge milestone for us and for you because we never thought that this would happen. So I'm I'm here because of my family, my support system. I think I wouldn't have been here without them. So I'm so blessed and grateful to have a wonderful family and friends, who were really close to me at that moment of time. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a lot to reconcile with. I mean, I listened to your story and I'm in amazement. You not only are you diagnosed, and you were diagnosed in a pretty short amount of time, all things considered. We
Yeah.
often hear about people going 7, 10 years without a diagnosis, clearly not with the same form of cutaneous lymphoma that you have. But it's quick, they're quick decisions. You really needed to triage your care. They dove right in to treat you, but without you having a real clear understanding.
Yeah, I think my condition was so rare and severe that there was no. So basically, we also planned of going back to India at that time when the diagnosis was not happening, because it took them 3 months to diagnose. So we were actually in a state of mind that we might go back to India because in India you get the treatment, you pay money, you get the test, you do everything straight away, right? So at that moment, we actually have a thought of going back to India, but that was the same time when the doctors rushed into the room and they said, we want you to stay back because we got the diagnosis. And because they said that you have to stay back and we got the diagnosis, we still made sure that we had all the reports. We sent it back to India to my uncle, who is a family doctor, my aunt, who is in London, UK, who is a doctor too. So we made sure that within 4 5 hours, when they told us that I had stage four, my husband did ask them, how much time do we have? So they said we need to start the treatment ASAP because it has spread all over the body, but it hasn't hit the organ yet. So, we just have to make sure because it was inside the fatty tissue layer of my skin, in my thighs, in my legs, in my hands, in my arms, but it didn't touch the organ yet. So they were just making sure that we need to start the chemo straight away because it could affect the organs. And we just asked them if we can just wait for like 4 5 hours because at 3 p.m. in Canada time, they told us, and it was back home in India, it was 3 a.m. night. So we just waited and make sure that we are sending the reports to them so that it was just a secondary opinion, right? That everything is fine, we're not just misdiagnosed or something like that. But they all told us that, I'm in a right place in a right, time because if I would come to India, I might not have that much of time because they might have to, do all the diagnosis again and stuff like that, and I might lose the time. So they all told us that, be there, get the treatment started. You're in the right place to start the treatment. And I'm happy that, I was in Canada because a lot of people sometime in India say that, if you would have been in India, you would have been early diagnosis and stuff like that. But I always say that, the cost which I had to pay for that treatment would have been like crazy. And secondly, the stem cell transplant I had during COVID, if I would have been in India during COVID, I wouldn't have been sitting here today. So I'm blessed that I was in a so I always say I was in a right place at a right time. I mean, it was all aligned that I moved to Canada in 2018 and 2019 I was diagnosed and then 2020 COVID happened. So I feel like it was all somehow planned in that way that, and yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned that, and I know for a lot of people with cutaneous lymphoma, the symptoms, the pre-symptoms are very visible on the surface of the skin. Did you have any of that? I know you mentioned about the fevers and things. Did you
Yeah.
have anything
So that
on
was
the
the
skin that,
strange, yeah, that
yeah.
was the strange thing. So I never had any of the symptoms. I just had fevers for 3 months and ulcers in my stomach. My body started swelling up, and then I had chills. And when I had first chemo, and I think after first chemo, my doctors found some purple spots on my hands, like small. And he was like, not sure. Like, he was like, this should have come before. And now it's showing those symptoms. So that's what they said, that I was really rare case for them because my symptoms were something which could have been very normal. And that's why they did a skin punch biopsy, which also they told us that they don't do generally skin punch biopsy these days, but that that diagnosis came through a skin punch biopsy. Like I had bone marrow biopsy before, I had breast biopsy before, I had laparoscopy, colonoscopy, I had a lot of things before, but nothing showed up on those tests. And those
Yeah.
spots came after chemo. Like I had those spots after chemotherapy.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean it's amazing that you were with a great group of physicians clearly who
Oh
were
yeah,
able to
yeah,
diagnose it and find it being so rare and so, being a cutaneous lymphoma where normally it's very visible on the skin. So, grateful for that. So you had mentioned also when you were initially diagnosed and going through your course of treatment that you had some secondary complications with your treatment. Share a little bit more about those and kind of how they impacted your life.
so when I was diagnosed, obviously they started the treatment ASAP, and my condition was so worse that the cancer was complicated with the HLH condition, so they had to give me aggressive chemo treatments. But at that phase, I stopped having my periods and I was thrown into a fertility loss without knowing what it looked like. And that is something which I still regret because I feel I had no idea what perimenopause looked like. I'm still on a systematic hormone therapy treatment. I get hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety, mood swings. It's it's bad to not know what perimenopause looked like because at the age of 33 I was thrown into it, but I had no idea. I had no education. I had no awareness about it. I had to always ask my team like, why is it happening to me? Why I'm getting these hot flashes? Why I'm getting night sweats? Why I'm getting that crazy mood swings? And every time I used to get answered that because I'm at the chemo treatment and stuff like that. But after stem cell transplant and after, going through all the treatment, still I had to go through all those side effects. They referred me to gynecologist, and from gynecologist, I was referred to a menopause specialist. So I am on the hormone therapy treatment right now, which has helped me, over the time. So I still get those side effects. And I think being young women, we oftenly don't know what it looks like and we don't have much knowledge about perimenopause. So I think it's very important to make sure that they have those questions asked before going through the treatment, right? What the fertility looks like. Can they, store their eggs or something like that? Because I didn't got that opportunity and I regret that and I grieve that because that is something every woman want to have, like to have a family, to have a kid, but that was taken away from me. So, and I think we really need to talk about perimenopause, what early menopause looks like, and what are the side effects. And I always compare it with my mom because when she was 54, 56, she was going through all that phase, but I never understood what it looked like because I was not at that stage, right? Until now, I feel that she's gone through so much at that age. So I think we need to respect that, there are people out there who live with early menopause and they have those long-term side effects which are not oftenly seen what they are going inside, what is going inside their body, right? So that is very important to have yourself aware about what perimenopause looks like.
Yeah, and any potential secondary impacts of any treatments.
Yeah.
It's all part of the conversation when
Yeah.
making the decision on whether or
Yeah.
not,
Yeah. Like what,
how you're going to proceed.
yes. And there are like, I had side effects through my medications, which were never talked about. Like, these medications could hinder my vision, could hinder my hearing, could give me long-term side effects of fatigueness and tiredness. So I think it's very important when you're going through the treatment, make sure that you have those list of questions of your treatment plan, of your diagnosis, of what medications are you in, what are the side effects of those medications, would that impact you long term as well, right? So those were the things which I was not even aware of, and with time I started having those side effects.
I would agree. I think, we have a section on our website that talks about diagnosis in young adults and some of those consideration. But you bring up a good point that, if you are going to make a decision on a treatment that may alter some of those things to be able to address those
Yeah.
secondary issues that ladies or people in general. So it's a very good point that you bring up. I appreciate that. You talked a lot about indirectly about the isolation that you felt around both your diagnosis and related to your course of treatment. um, we do have other people who go through stem cell transplants, and that's not something, because it's not such a common treatment among all cutaneous lymphomas. You know, I think that's an important part of your journey for other people with cutaneous lymphoma who may be facing a stem cell transplant, that kind of getting yourself ready. You were also doing it through COVID, which completely blows
Yeah.
my mind of the additional amount of isolation that you must have felt there. Was your family able to, I mean, you said video calls, like,
Yeah, so basically during my chemos before stem cell, they were there every time for me. They used to take me to the chemotherapy. Every time, anytime I used to have chemo, any one person used to be there with me, like my mom, my dad, my husband, or my brother. But during stem cell, because I was completely isolated for 35 days, so I was on video calls with them. And there were days, honestly, because I was on opioids, I was on fentanyl, I was on painkiller pumps and oxygen pipe. And so there were days that I had no idea how my day was, right? I was almost bedridden and I was in that phase where I was had nausea. I was not in my senses, but they used to, so my doctors and my husband, they used to have a call every day to know what's, my day looks like, how are my vitals, how I'm responding to the treatment. So if there were days I'm not able to pick my call, so they used to call the nurse line directly to see if I'm okay, because they were really scared. Because as they mentioned that if something happens, we let you know. So we used to make sure that they are talking to me every single day, mornings, afternoons, nights. And if sometime I don't pick up a call, and if I'm not in my senses to pick up a call, they used to call the nurse, and the nurse used to come down and check on me and used to tell them that, she's okay, she's sleeping, she's on meds and stuff like that. So it was scary moment for all of us. Like we never talked about it honestly until 2 years back. I remember I just had a normal conversation with my husband, and I asked him, "Were you even expecting me that I would come back?" And he said no. He honestly said we were so scared that we don't know that you would come back or not. So that kind of conversation happened after so many years because everybody was so scared that they didn't had an idea what will happen. And I still remember when I came home after 35 days, the kind of hug I got from everyone was something which I think felt like, they were not hoping to see me. Like they thought that it might be the end. So, but that mental trauma was there, no one actually talked about it. And imagine everybody was going through so much, but they never shared and talked. So that was the isolation. I think everybody around me felt that, but we never spoke about it.
yeah, I imagine there was a sense of them
Yeah.
trying to be strong for you as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
show their vulnerability, that they wanted you to feel that strength, maybe.
Yeah. And I think within the South Asian community, it's like that. We don't talk about these things. So, we generally take everything in because we feel that someone out there like me might not be, comfortable, or probably they don't know how to speak to that person too, right? And maybe it will be an awkward situation if they talk. So it's like a lot of lack of communication and education about cancer so that they don't know how to. I still remember we never used the word cancer during my treatment. When we were sitting at home, there was an isolation when we were sitting at home watching TV. It was a silence around, like everything was there, but there was such a big silence around that word, right? We never spoke about those things. And I know everybody was struggling at that time. And that's how it all started. So when I came back, I was struggling because I was isolated again in the room because no one was supposed to come inside the room because of COVID. They had to take care of me. They used to put food outside the room, and I used to I used to take the food and eat. And my mom used to cover herself and come inside to give me shower, change my clothes. So it was really a difficult moment for everyone. And we never spoke about it, but I was so isolated then too that I started writing about my journey. So I wrote my blog, I wrote my heart out through my blog, and which I actually shared it online very like later stage in August 2020. I shared it online and I just felt that I need to write about it. I need to put it out. And initially, when I started sharing on my social media platform, it really went on that phase where people had no idea what I was going through. My close friends, my friends from India back home, they had no idea what I was dealing with. So that gave me that kind of support that people are there listening my journey. And there were some people who were like, why are you sharing this? Why are you putting out your bald head outside on social media platform? So that kind of things did came. My mom didn't like that I've shared my bald head picture on social media. But I think I was just looking for help. I was looking for someone out there who was going through the same journey, who was, feeling that kind of isolation and loneliness in that journey. So it all just came out of that page, that my blog, that I just spread my blog out and I was looking for help and support. And I used that social media platform as a digital diary to express myself and which worked really well because a lot of people reached out to me after that who were actually diagnosed with cancer and who were going through those isolation and stuff like that. And I then spoke to my oncologist. I said, I'm just not doing well. I'm mentally struggling. I'm physically struggling. I don't know what to do, how to do. And at that moment, he actually referred me to psychosocial and the therapist too. And since then, honestly, Holly, until now, I'm on that therapy. I am on pills. I'm not denying it because in our culture, they don't understand what depression looks like, what anxiety looks like, what isolation looks like, because people just think that, oh, you just move on, move on with the things. And so it's not easy. And so for me, it was not easy, but that really helped me with my, you know, healing, with my moving on and showing up every day. And and I think my mom never understood that why I was going through that, why I needed therapy, why I need to do this, but I asked for help. I think that was something which I'm proud to say that I asked for help for myself, which not a lot of people do ask. So I think that made me where I am today, by asking for that help. And then I joined a couple of support groups because I think I was just looking for someone out there with my own type of cancer and also with my age group who are going through the same phase. Because sometimes people you are surrounded with, they don't understand what you're going through. But sometimes people who are going through that journey, they would understand you much better than your own family or your own friends. So I think that support group really helped me coming out of it. But one thing was lacking in that group was that I never found someone with my own color in that group. So, but it was not an easy journey, honestly. I mean, I feel like I'm so proud of myself that I made it through, and I feel I have been given this second life, not only to survive, but to thrive and make a meaningful purpose out of it. Like a lot of time people just ask me, like, are you doing this? You should just move on and get back to your own life, corporate jobs and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know if I can go back to that zone. Like I have lived, I've lived that hardship of my life and now I have this second life. So probably there is something out there for me. And I am a spiritual person. So I believe that, God has given me this second life, probably to be a purpose for someone out there, helping them, supporting them, and provide that awareness and education so that no one can suffer in silence in this kind of, you know, a
You
journey.
are truly an inspiration. I think about the things you've said, and we talk a lot about community, and you didn't find your community straight away, but you've made your community, and that you should be so proud of that. You should be so proud of taking the risk to put yourself out there to develop a community. We are so glad that you found us, and
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you as a member of our community.
Thank
Um,
you.
You stumbled upon some of that misconception, that lack of communication. Is there anything that you feel is important for other members of the community to know about misconceptions around having a rare form of cancer that has different types of treatments and a young woman with a diagnosis of a rare form?
Yeah. So being from South Asian community, like we never talked about cancer, and I with my with my actually talking about my journey, I oftenly get a lot of DMs saying that, we are not able to talk about cancer. We can't take the C word. And I did a couple of radio interviews where they actually named cancer as a bad karma and stuff like that. So I think that's the myth around cancer in our community, especially in South Asian community, where we feel that cancer is a dead end, cancer is a bad karma, cancer is contagious too. Like I got to know that people think cancer is contagious too. So these are the myths, and so we need to actually, just educate them and make sure that, we break the silence and break that stigma and taboo around cancer so that people can get themselves tested early rather than being, and I did get that when I was diagnosed. So someone reached out to my husband saying that bring her back and get her the herbal medication. So we don't believe in getting the medical diagnosis and getting into chemo because often people think chemo is a poison. If someone is having chemo, that person will not survive, that person will not come back. So I think those are the myths around cancer we have. And that's why I'm trying to focus on breaking that myth and, probably breaking that silence. And I think our generation people can do that because our elder generation, they still don't understand, they still don't get it. But at least one person from coming out and talking about it will obviously make a difference. And I feel if I am doing that, if any one person out there is getting that kind of, awareness piece out of me or getting that hope and resilience, why not? I'm happy to share more and more just to make sure that the word is spread out and I can be the voice for those patients out there.
Quite the champion for the community. We really are grateful for you. If you thought about what's one piece of advice you would give to somebody who is newly diagnosed with your form of cutaneous lymphoma or any form of cutaneous lymphoma for that matter, what is one piece of advice as somebody who has lived through quite the extensive treatment and with your diagnosis?
So with my treatment, obviously we did really advocated pre-diagnosis. So ask questions. If you feel something is not right, make sure that you ask those questions from your doctors, from your healthcare team, because that's really important. And I think we have to be our own health advocate when it comes to your health, your own health. So that's one thing which I would say that please make sure that you ask your questions. And there are support groups out there. So make sure that you reach out to the support groups if you're feeling isolated and yeah, those are the things I feel. And I honestly, because I shared my story online, so someone reached out to me from Singapore who has similar diagnosis. SPTCL, HLH, a rare form. She's been calling a rare girl in her hospital, and she had 6 months of fever, and she's still going for her treatment. And she reached out to me because of my social media and blog. And I actually told her what kind of treatment I had, but I also told her that, make sure that you have your questions ready. And I did give her information about my team as well, just to make sure if their doctors and team want to connect so that, because she's again a rare cancer girl in her country, right? And I feel like I am the hope for her. And she said me to, she said that, Harjeet, you're giving me a hope right now because you're 4 years down the road and I'm still starting my treatment. So at least I have that, hope, which I did had because I had no idea if someone out there with that rare kind of cancer still exists. So, that kind of story really helped me, like, me and as well as to that person out there. And same thing with a US girl who's going through the same kind of diagnosis, but she's having a different treatment. But that's the thing, right? I think our story do matters, and our stories are so powerful that, you can actually change the life and change everything for that person and also change the healthcare system. Like I've been advocating for so many things in Canada about out of pocket cost, and there are so many things we don't know that happens to cancer patient, like they struggle financially, physically, socially, mentally, but we don't talk about these things.
Right. Right. Sadly. Well, we need to break down those barriers and break
Yeah,
down those walls and make that more the norm than not.
yeah. Thank you.
We also talked a little bit about community and finding your community, and I know that you have done some work to develop communities yourself, including creating a network. Is that something that you might be able to talk a little bit more about?
So when I was actually initial days, I was looking for support groups. So I joined a couple of organizations within Canada, LLSC, CCS, and YAC. But the one thing which was missing in those organizations was the representation. Like I could not find my own people out there, and which used to hinder me a lot because I used to feel, is it just me who's diagnosed with cancer? Is it just, me being Indian diagnosed with cancer? But that was wrong because as I started talking about it through my social media, I came across those, things that cancer is not oftenly taken, spoken in our community. We don't talk about it. So there's such a isolation and stigma around cancer. So I was at one of the events back in 2023. I was talking about the stigma around cancer in our community, and I was speaking about what are the myths and facts about the stigma. And I was saying that, I wanted to create some safe space for my people, but I can't just come alone and do it. Like, I need my people to come together so that we can create and build that community. And there was one girl who was diagnosed with the cancer, and she actually said that she's happy to support me, and that's how it all started. So we talked. She's a South Asian too. She was diagnosed with ovarian cancer at that time. We talked about it, that how it is a stigma in our community, because she could relate to that stigma too. And but because we are in Canada, so we sometimes have that kind of rights to speak and talk about certain things. So I think we came up with this name called Chai and Hope for South Asian Cancer Support Group. And we started with Facebook, but it was very slow because we were not able to find a lot of people in that group coming and talking about it. And then we thought of, in 2024, we thought of putting that on Instagram so that it could be a global platform where people can actually know what Chai and Hopes look like, what are some things which we are looking forward to. So I think Chai and Hope initially started on Facebook and then on Instagram, but the whole idea behind Chai and Hope was to have that safe space for our community people to come and chat and network and talk to us about what they are feeling, so that we didn't want people to feel isolated, during that journey. So that's how it started. We have a couple of stories shared on our Chai and Hope, but it's still, it's just still our baby, and we're still struggling to find that kind of niche, because we've picked up that niche topic where you won't find a lot of South Asians coming and talking about it. But I feel it will take time. But I'm glad that, we started that support group. At least some of the people can resonate with that group, and they can come and chat to us, they can come and talk to us, because I'm more active on the social media platform of my page. So I always reconnect that page to my page so that people know that we have started that support group for them. But I think it will take time, but we are there. So if someone out there want to reach out to me, for that kind of support, especially from South Asian side of, I would be happy to help and support that.
Oh, we so appreciate that, and we will absolutely be sure to link to the page in our show notes for anybody who may be interested in connecting
Okay.
with you. We
Thank,
appreciate you making that offer
okay.
available to
Thank you.
folks who may want that. Is there anything else? I mean, you have just shared an amazing wealth of knowledge and opportunity and experiences, and clearly you're a champion for others with it and a true warrior for yourself. But I'd like to, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the community?
I just want to say, everyone out there who's going through this journey or who are caregivers to people, like, please don't lose hope. And there are support groups out there. Make sure that you ask for help. I mean, it's really important for people to ask for help, and also for people who are their caregivers or friends or families who see that people are going through cancer. Make sure you support them. And there are many ways you can support them. So make sure that they are not feeling isolated in that journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can't thank you enough for your time, Hajit, and for all the things that you do for people affected by cutaneous lymphoma and cancer in general. We do really
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Lori. Thanks a lot.
Yes, that brings us to the end of this episode of Coffee and Community Cutaneous Lymphoma Conversations. We hope you found our discussion as insightful and inspiring as I did. Before we go, we'd like to thank Harjeet one more time for her commitment, as well as thanking our sponsors and donors. Without their support of a program like this, it would not be possible. Remember, you can find more episode resources and a full list of our sponsors on our website at www.clfoundation.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us to reach more listeners and continue bringing valuable conversations to and from the cutaneous lymphoma community. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay informed, stay connected, and take care.
Thank you.